Well, hi there. I'm Diana Montford, the world's first transgender television journalist, born male, became female, etc., etc., etc. We all know the drill. My guest is the wonderful, well-known transgender activist, Ms. Juli Grey-Owens, who basically pushed GENDA through, which is the what is it?
Gender Expression Non-Discrimination Act.
Yes, here in New York, and we're very happy about that. She's basically the mother of GENDA. She got it passed. We all had a hand in it, so all you people out there who helped, don't say, well, I did so. All right, fine, you did something, but she did most of it, okay? Let's be fair here. Julie is also the executive director of...
Gender Equality in New York.
Yes, a Long Island-based gender equality group for trans folk and their admirers. Anyway, let's talk to Julie and see what's up. Hi, Julie.
Hello there.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
So, what's going on?
Well, now that the Gender Expression Non-Discrimination Act has passed, it's an interesting time for our community because now we start looking at other bills.
Such as?
Well, there's a whole bunch of different things that we could be looking at. One of the things that we're looking at is the gay trans panic defense.
Oh, of course.
Which is...
Well, I had to kill him because he made a pass at me and it scared me. Boom, boom.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
So that's really unfortunate.
Let's not forget the Twinkie defense used by Dan White, I believe, who murdered Harvey Milk and Dan Moscone, something like that.
Yeah.
Many years ago.
The mayor of San Francisco.
Yes.
Exactly.
And used that as his defense. Well, you know, gay people make me nervous. Well, tough, get over it.
Right. Well, anyway, that's one that we're looking to do. And we're also looking at items like, for example, preserving parental custody rights. It seems as though, especially in our community, transgender parents are having problems with custody rights and things and being told by judges out in the courts that, you can have parental rights with your children, but you'll have to put off your surgery, or you'll have to, for example, if you're a trans woman, I'm sorry, you'll have to be a man version in order to see the children and things of that nature.
Renee Richards, many years ago in the 70s, had a deal with her wife where she would dress as a man when she went to see their son.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's a serious problem.
Yes, but it's also illegal. I mean, these are all the right-wing judges who were appointed by President Trump.
I think that it probably goes further back than that even, with the reality. We have to remember that, especially when we talk about like Long Island and New York City, not the rest of the state is not so liberal. One of the things that we're doing with Gender Equality in New York is we are doing transgender forums across the state. In fact, this past week, I just did one in Oneonta. When you go to these
places... Wasn't that like a famous China place where they made China or something?
They might have, but there's a SUNY Oneonta, and it's a typical little city, big town in upstate New York, not too far away from the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Okay.
But cities like Oneonta, cities like Auburn, cities like Plattsburgh.
I've never heard of Auburn.
These are all. Well, Auburn is just outside of Syracuse. Jamestown. Have you heard of Jamestown?
Lucille Ball.
Lucille Ball. That's correct. But these are cities that are little cities, and they're located in areas that are very conservative. So we tend to think of the rest of New York State being like Long Island or being like New York City, but unfortunately it's not.
Or even New Jersey, which can be quite hip in spots.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Very much like, we border Pennsylvania, and Ohio.
Exactly.
That tends to be sort of the Rust Belt. And if it wasn't for Buffalo's starting to become a lot more liberal, but that's still,
How
even
about
Buffalo
Ithaca and the other places?
Yeah, those are a lot like what I'm talking about. And that's where the work needs to be done the most.
Well, now, what do? Do you call the mayor and say, I would like to bring a group there? And the mayor says, well, yes or no?
No, we don't do it that way. What we do is, our mailing list now is, closing in on like 1,500 to 2,000 people.
Right.
And as a result, I have people from all over the state that say, well, there's a church that'll have you, as an example. We just did the Unitarian Universalist Church in Oneonta.
Well, do you contact the local gay rights center, assuming there is a local gay rights center?
But that's the problem with a lot of these smaller places, is that they're very fractured.
Gay rights? What rights?
Well, luckily, Otsego Pride, which is located there in Oneonta has been around now, I guess, for 3 years. But when we first went there to do a town forum back in, I think, 2016, there was no group. And you want to talk about a group of people that were depressed. I mean, there was nothing. There was no gay bar. There was no pride. There was no anything. So they got together and put together the Pride Alliance there.
How many gay people were there at that time? There?
I have no idea what their numbers are, but they've had a very successful...
Trans people, let's say.
Again, a lot of people don't show up necessarily in...
Of course.
In their authentic selves.
Yes.
Also because they're worried about people seeing them and so forth, or family members, whatever it happens to be. So you can't really tell about that, but you can tell about the fact that we're talking about an area that is really having problems, struggling with identity. So what we are doing now with our forums is that we give a Trans 101 presentation where we talk about concepts, we talk about terminology, we talk about pronouns and so forth. And then after we've done that, we then have a panel between 5 and 8 people that are community members and talk about their life experiences as whether they're trans, non-binary, or we've been very lucky to have some intersex
Actually
panelists.
Born intersex.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. Talk about their life, talk about things that have happened, and it's very powerful.
But the audience members are basically the people who tormented them when they were in grammar school.
Perhaps. But the fact that they've come to this to learn means that they're opening their mind and they're trying to see if they can learn more about us.
Or there's nothing good on television.
Well, it could be, but with Netflix, everybody has Netflix. So.
Yeah, well, I don't. I don't do
Well, Netflix
computers.
pretty much fills in for everyone.
I guess. But anyway, well, watch the Diana Montford show on YouTube. But anyway, and you'll see Julie through the years.
Right.
But now, do you ever get a hostile reaction? Do people are, hey, get off the stage, you faggot? I do
No,
that so well.
not really, because when we go to places, and we've also had an opportunity to do a lot of SUNY locations. We've done SUNY Plattsburgh.
SUNY is what?
State University of New York.
Okay.
One of our largest forums was held at SUNY Sullivan County, which is in the middle of nowhere, but the college itself is a beautiful facility. We had 75 people come out for that forum.
Sounds like a good audience
It
for
was
that.
one of our largest audiences.
Yeah.
And the auditorium that it was in was like one of those auditoriums where, it's a teaching auditorium.
Sure.
And I won't say that we were, standing room only, but it was full, and it was pretty impressive for us to be able to bring that number of people out.
And do they change? Do they? What's that phrase from the film, from the play Kinky Boots? You change the world when you change your mind. Do they grow less bigoted, do you think, when they see
Well,
this?
I think
or are
that...
you preaching to the choir because they're there to begin with?
I think that there's a couple things. I think that there are some people who are loyal to our community, feel, concern for our community, but may not know terminology, may not understand concepts, so it's an opportunity for them to learn more. Then there's a group of people that are there because they're intelligent and they want to learn, but they know nothing. And so the Trans 101 that we give gives them a foundation. That followed then by the panelists speaking. They always talk about, trying to win hearts and minds. Well, the Trans 101 is to win their mind, to give them an understanding of concepts and to understand that this is not a lifestyle or a choice. This is who we are. This is the way we're built. And I think that helps people to start gaining a little bit of, understanding. And then once they hear some of the stories, and again, some of the stories are actually funny, some of the stories are very positive, and of course there are some sad stories too.
Such as?
Well, people that have been kicked out by their families, families, broken up and divorces
Luckily,
occurring.
both you and I have very supportive families.
Well, I do, and I'm very thankful for that. It's had a very big positive effect on my life and the work that I do because I don't, I have that support at home, but I know an awful lot of members in our community that don't have support and are out there on their own. And it's an awful hard life to live without someone, sort of backing you up.
I guess it must be.
Exactly. So we hope that the middle group, that group that really knew nothing at all, walks away going, wow, I never knew this. And then maybe they visit friends or have lunch with coworkers or something and say, you'll never guess what I did last night or last week.
Oh, you went to that? I was going to go, but I was tired, so
Exactly,
I took a nap.
exactly. And so what ends up happening is that word spreads. And the work that we're trying to do is to get what I call the cisgender general public aware of our community in a positive sense, understand our community, and I think that when we do that, we reduce the opportunity for hate, violence, and discrimination.
Now, would you be willing to do this all over the country, or is it just New York State?
Right now, we're just working on New York State.
Excuse me.
And we've been blessed with the opportunity to get a grant, which has helped us be able to do this.
A grant from whom?
Actually, from the Long Island Community Foundation.
Oh, okay.
I was able to do that. It's actually our second grant. So we've received in total something like $35,000 from them with 2 grants.
Is that enough?
Well, it's never enough. But that brings us to some other good news for our organization. We incorporated last year in 2018, and we just received our 501c3 designation from the Internal Revenue Service.
So some nice people out there can make donations should they wish to.
Eventually.
Oh,
We're
not
not ready.
yet?
We're not ready yet, but we're we've taken it slow. We've gone out, and I always felt that it was more important to not tell people what you were going to do, but show them what you do.
Exactly.
And that's been very positive.
You have to go to a hotel and pay all your meals and all that, and the gas and all that.
Yeah, that
so
does
it must
happen.
get very expensive.
Well, that's where the grant has come in, and it's been very helpful. And I have to be perfectly honest with you, I'm very careful with the money. So,
You're smart about it, yeah.
if the hotel has a free breakfast,
Well,
I
why
make the
wouldn't you?
peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for lunch. So,
well, there's I
exactly.
like
So
you.
we kind
You're
of
my kind of person. Okay, good. But so and you've always received a positive reception.
Well, every place that we've gone, we've received positive reinforcement, and in fact, we had when we went up to Auburn, which is southwest of Syracuse. There was a snowstorm that day, and 3 panelists came. So there was 3 panelists came and me, and 12 members
Isn't
of the
that
audience
great?
came out in a snowstorm.
Isn't that great?
And you know what? It was each one of the forums are different. It depends on the location. It depends on the people and everything
Like
else.
doing a play every night, it's different because the audience is different. And
I didn't realize
the
that, but I
vibe
could
is
believe that.
different,
Yeah, exactly. And for example, when we did the Sullivan County, where we had like 75 people come, that was impressive, and there was a lot of interest and so forth. But we just did one in Oneonta this past week, and we had probably around 30 people. The discussion that went on during the Oneonta, it was a 3-hour-long forum, and it didn't stop. We took a 10-minute break, but I mean, they started off. I introduced myself with pronouns. They started out not arguing, but what about the pronouns? Why this? I don't understand. Plural pronouns being used for singular.
It's very confusing for people who are not trans or non-binary to understand that one single person would want to be called them, their, they. I mean, even I'm thrown by that. Like, they, how are all of you? I mean, what do you say to people? I mean, it can get very confusing and a little annoying. You think, well, look, I mean, I'm not a sociologist. Give me a break here. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the thing is that the biggest issue that cisgender people have with our community is that they're afraid to ask. And what I've found as I go across the state is when we have our panelists come, I always ask them the question, now, do you feel funny if someone comes up to you and says, I don't know what pronouns to use. What pronoun should I use? Every single one of the panelists have said, please ask me, because you show respect when you ask what pronoun to use. Because a lot of cisgender people are like, oh, I don't want to do that because maybe I'm outing you, or maybe I make you feel bad.
In this politically correct world,
but and
everything
it's understandable.
is an affront,
But asking pronouns is a sign of respect. And I think that's the biggest issue and the biggest message that we can get out there is that don't feel funny about asking pronouns, but then when you find out, try to use them.
Okay.
And of course, we all slip. And it's not that it's okay to slip, but let's not make a big deal out of it. Let's just try to do it right.
Sure.
And we just keep working on it, and we'll get it right eventually.
Yeah, yeah. How do you find the panelists? I mean,
Well, again, what I do is
via the internet,
we
I
have
imagine?
our mailing list that we send out, and I've been lucky enough to get a wonderful group of volunteers. And it's amazing because we put up slides of an introductory slide for each panelist when we do the forums. And you will see I have Peace Corps volunteers, I have professors, I have
all of whom are trans or
non-binary or intersex.
whatever.
Just it's amazing the range of people that we have.
Well, Jerry Springer and company have made us seem the most outrageous psychopaths, and we're not. And that's something people have to understand. Yes, a few trans folk are totally out there. Most of us are not, nor do we wish to be.
Exactly. And I think the thing is that the opportunity for the panelists to speak do a couple things. First of all, it empowers them. These are people who are just speaking from the heart.
Right.
And are not usually, long-time activists type of thing.
Right.
But I can tell you that even the, what I'll call the rookies, once they've done this now, they start getting involved, and they start doing things, and they start doing outreach. And it's like our own, statewide community army going out and spreading the word for our community.
No, I've had a lot of trans folk actually stand me up when we're doing this show. They just don't show. And I never hear from them again. I call, what happened? They never get back to me. Do you ever find that people are so afraid or so...
I've had a couple that didn't show up. But for the most part, what happens is that when someone says, hey, I'd like to be a panelist, well, we have a very simple registration form just so that we know how comfortable they are being in front of people, possibly being in front of media, possibly having to give a quote or having a picture taken, because these are issues, and everyone has to understand that, and we understand it, and we want the panelists to understand it. And also, what topics may be out of bounds for them. And occasionally, a panelist will say to me, I'm very uncomfortable at talking about my sexuality. So I know that that's something that, as someone who's running or driving the forum, I need to make sure that if for some reason that question came up, I'm just going to somehow redirect it away.
Well, I once had a trans man on this show who had yet to start taking testosterone. And in private, he told me that he still menstruated, had his period. And but he begged me not to mention it on television, and I didn't. And no names mentioned. I'm not going to say
whatever.
what it was. Yeah.
Right.
I
Well,
mean,
and you knowingly protected him and did the right thing, obviously. So we do that, and then I do an interview over the phone and talk a little bit about what they plan to say in their story. I actually give them one of my 5-minute spiels of my story so that they get just a feeling for what we're looking for. We're not looking for anger. We're not looking for people to have a breakdown on the panel. What we are looking for, as I've said, we look for real stories. Some stories are happy, some stories are funny, some stories are sad. And all those are valid stories. What we don't want is we don't want to have a visit to the psychiatrist with a breakdown and that type of thing, because then it just ruins the forum. But we've been very lucky. We've had a couple of issues that might be a little uncomfortable, but they've all kind of worked their way out. But again, for the most part, and now I'm getting panelists doing more than one forum in different areas. And I know exactly what I'm going to get with them. And each time they tell their story.
Why do you think your own? I know exactly what I'm going to get with you.
Well,
you're going to show up on time, made up, ready to shoot. No bullshit. Just we're ready to go.
Let's go here.
And you have stuff to say, So yeah, you're one of our favorite guests around here.
Well, I appreciate that. But so I'm very positive about it. And we've now done. We started in September of 2018. We've done 11. Up to this point, only on to this week was number 11. We're hoping to do 25 in 2019.
Are you going to make it are you going to go back to the same towns next year, perhaps?
Oh, absolutely. We're not afraid to have quote unquote repeat performances. What we're looking for, though, is perhaps a different venue. So if we did one in a UU church, we might want to do one, I'm being funny here, but maybe the American Legion,
Why
or
not?
maybe
Why
a
not?
SUNY college or whatever.
Yeah.
We've done Buffalo State.
Mm-hmm.
We did Jamestown Community College. So we've been getting around.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, and what's also happened is because of the forums, it has now allowed us to do trainings in other areas. Like we just did, I did training in Nassau County for Nassau County's Department of Social Services.
Mm-hmm.
I've done 20 trainings at the Nassau County Police Academy.
Yeah, many years ago, in the late 90s, people with the Gender Identity Project here in New York, we used to have to go to this precinct number 6, and tell them, these ladies are not streetwalkers, they are simply trans. Please do not arrest them.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with being a streetwalker.
No, but what you did was you were opening the minds of those police officers.
We tried.
Yeah. You know
Some
what?
of
You
them
never.
were sadists and enjoyed arresting people just because.
You're always going to get that, but I will guarantee you somebody walked out with more information.
We noticed that.
And more caring towards our community.
Yes.
So if we continue to keep doing this, and look, I think this is a forever job. I mean, we'll never
like
be
the
done.
TV show, yeah.
We'll never be done.
I've been doing it 30 years now.
Right. And
I don't get paid, and you don't get paid.
No,
We don't get paid.
No. But the impact, it's sort of like that pebble in the pond.
Exactly.
And it just like opens out. And I think that's an important thing to consider
And
in
as
the
I
work that we're
said
doing.
earlier, do look on YouTube because it's our history. Because there are shows dating back to 1991. And we don't have much of a history because they've wiped our slate clean. If you go on YouTube and you watch episodes of this show, I'm certainly not purporting to be the historian of our movement, the trans movement, but you will see a lot of trans people, some of whom are no longer among us, discussing their lives and their activities and what it means to be trans, what it meant to be trans 10, 20, 25 years ago,
Exactly. Well, I think you are, you're a video historian with the people that you've brought on.
That's conscious. I meant that.
Yeah.
I wanted that. I wanted that to happen because we had no history. If you can access our ancient old films by going to the New York Gay and Lesbian Center, LGBTQ Center, and punching in the Diana Montford collection. And there are films dating back 30 years, and you can see a lot of things, not all of whom are. We also have Betty Dodson. We have a lot of sexual pioneers. You know?
No, I think it's amazing and important, and your work continues.
And so does yours.
Right.
And it's a forever job.
Unfortunately, yes.
Or fortunately, because each generation needs to be instilled with a certain amount of self-esteem. Because the forces against the self-esteem never cease.
Right.
So we have to keep almost repeating ourselves generation after generation. It is okay to be trans. It is okay to be queer. It is okay to be not okay in the eyes of cisgender society.
It's okay to be you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Unless, of course, you're a serial killer or something. Not that there's anything wrong.
Well, there is something wrong with that.
But you know what I mean.
But the work continues.
Yes.
So anyway, getting back to it though, but so we don't feel funny about going to the same place again, as long as it's perhaps a different venue, and the outreach goes perhaps to other cisgender
Have you
people.
ever been afraid?
No. I can really say that. I guess that may be stupid, but no. I'm really trying hard to think if there was ever a time that I was nervous. I've been angry.
Why?
I went to a trans event actually in Arkansas. It was people say Arkansas, but it was wonderful. It was a wonderful place, Eureka Springs in Arkansas, and we had gone to a restaurant and a bar, and when every place in the town we had been treated excellently.
Right.
But someone decided to put draw a picture of male plumbing,
Right.
and put like one of those like no, like a universal no sign over it, and tape it on the ladies' room door. And I saw it and tore it off the door, brought it to the owner, and they were like super apologetic and everything else. But we left, and that was it. They might have made a little bit more money had they not done that. And the next time we went, next year when we went, the bar was closed.
Complained about a drugstore who would not sell me my hormone pills, even though they were prescribed and everything. Maybe 9 months later, it closed because I did it at a forum, a Democratic forum, and I said, you know, this pharmacy at this address did this to me. That's all I had to say.
Right. Well, now you could probably go to the national
Well,
headquarters.
this was only 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
88th Street Pharmacy in New York. They would not sell me my hormones.
Wow.
It's a lot of trouble to get them. No, it's not. Every older actress who ever was pops those pills, you know?
Right.
Goldie Hawn takes them. Everybody takes them. Lauren Hutton, I hear you calling, girlfriend. But anyway, so how can people contact you?
Well, just to make things easy, we have our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/genderequalityny.
Mm-hmm.
And you can send us messages there. You will see activities and things that we're stressing in our organization.
Right.
We're also starting to add things that are happening around the state to this Facebook page. So it's information if you're interested.
And that would apply to all over the world, I would imagine, because there's a lot of overlap, I would imagine, for LGBTQ folk, wherever they are.
Oh, sure. I mean, we're basically focusing on New York. This is, you know, at a point when we feel we're doing a wonderful job in New York, maybe we'll look to go some other place.
Right.
But right now, our work is focused on New York and New York State.
So it's www.facebook.com, Gender Equality NY. And you should really avail yourselves of it. And can they ask you questions?
Sure. Absolutely. I don't handle the Facebook page, thank God, because I wouldn't be very good at it. But I do get messages sent from me for the board member who handles that, and they let me know, and I send back information, and they put it back out on Facebook.
My guest has been Ms. Juli Grey-Owens, famous transgender activist. What do you do? Director of?
Oh, Gender Equality New York.
Yes, and the mother of Gender.
Well,
Gender Equality.
A happy proponent of it. A lot of people put a lot of work into gender.
Yes, they did.
Absolutely.
But you certainly did the lion's
I did
share.
okay.
Anyway, I'm Diana Montford. This has been the Diana Montford Show. Look, don't worry. We're here for you. You know, there are a lot of us. We didn't invent this. You didn't invent this. We've always existed. We always will exist. That's the way it is. And everybody has to get used to it, including ourselves. Anyway, I love you, even if no one else loves you. Julie loves you, I'm sure, right?
Yes, indeed.
And I will see you next time. And you take real good care of yourself because we love you a lot. Even if no one else loves you, we love you. Bye.